friends and sane persons. Welcome to another episode of Wednesday Whimsy. My name is Kyle, and I have a confession to make. I have a serious Kickstarter problem. If we'll get to that again in a moment, but in case it's your first time joining, Wednesday Whimsy is a short show that I do every Wednesday evening, and I talk about some sort of a board game related topic. It could be a top 10 list, it could be a review of a game. Today it's kind of a random, roamy, wombly musing session where I'm going to talk about a popular sales platform called Kickstarter. If you're not familiar with it, well, I don't know where you've been hiding for the last couple of years, but welcome and enjoy the learning to know about this wonderful thing. This isn't gonna, I don't really have a format for this. I'm just going to talk about some of the things I love, some of the things I hate, and some of my experiences. So let's start at the beginning. What is Kickstarter? Kickstarter is a platform, it's a website where you can pay for something now and receive it much, much, much later. It's kind of like, Wimpy from Popeye. I'll pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. This is more like I'll pay you now for a hamburger in 2 or 3 years. And I'll pay you more for it. We'll talk a little bit about that. But I'm just going to go to the website here, show you around. I do have to confess, you'll see something that, at least for me, is a little bit shocking. And that is that I have backed quite a few Kickstarters. So when you back a Kickstarter, basically you're putting money down for something that you'll get at some point in the future. Everyone pretends it's like an investment and you don't know what's going to come and it's not really a store, but everyone really knows it's just a way for companies to get money now to give you something later, much, much later, and often at a worse price. So anyway, here is the website. You're just going to see my profile. We're going to start by talking about, I guess it's my experiences. I have currently backed 924 Kickstarters. Now, this is back since the very beginning, since June of 2011, which was the early days of Kickstarter. You'll see a few of these are currently seeking funds, and you'll see lots of these are games that have long since completed their funding. There's a wide variety of things because I have a very low threshold for what I will sign up for on Kickstarter. Now, if you didn't get from my tone, I kind of have a negative opinion of it, but not entirely. There are some things I actually really enjoy. Kind of see the website in general. It will recommend things to you. It will often put some promoted project here, and oftentimes it's something that I have absolutely no interest in. Most of my Kickstarter projects have been board games. In fact, there used to be a tool, you can see it right here, where you can see, I'm not going to add a biography. Well, I guess you can't really see it, but you can see that I've, of the 924, 891 have been board games, and the others have been a couple of, small technologies or bags or things like that. Anyway, but you'll go to a project page. For example, we'll go to Teotihuacan City of Gods Deluxe, and you'll see information about it. There's a bar showing how much money's been contributed, how many more days until it'll collect your funds. So the way this works is you're going to be putting money down, and then if enough people back it, contribute money, pledge money so that it reaches a funding goal, then it will you'll be charged at the end of the project. Otherwise, you won't be charged. Now, board game projects are, from what I understand, one of the larger pieces of Kickstarter, and they almost always reach their funding goals because they set their goals usually quite low. They often show this, funded in 15 minutes thing like that means something. This Teotihuacan City of Gods has been spamming me for months, telling me that it's coming on Kickstarter, that it's coming to Kickstarter, which means that it's coming to my table much, much later. You can kind of see, they show you some pictures of what you'll get. You can see a lie about when you can expect to receive it. It says October 2024. The last project that I think this company, Boards and Dice, did was Nightmare Cathedral, and that one still hasn't shown up. We can kind of. Oh, there's a terrible search engine too. Um, that usually doesn't find you what you want, but yeah, it's not going to find. It's a really bad search engine, or maybe that was on a different platform. I don't know. Anyway, but no, that was a couple years ago, and it still hasn't shown up. So I suspect highly that October 2024 will not see the deluxe edition of Teotihuacan on my doorstep. But that's just sort of part of what you know going into it. So I have done a lot of these. And I've had some good experiences, bad experiences, and I'm just going to kind of talk to you about it. So what what do I love about Kickstarter? So one thing I really do like is I like kind of feeling in the know about what's coming out. I like thinking, oh, okay, a game is coming, and I can kind of check up on it occasionally. Many Kickstarters will post regular updates when they do certain things. When they submit the files, they'll tell you about how the factory production is going. They'll give you information about their shipping process. I've learned a lot more about kind of what goes into making a board game from participating in Kickstarter, and I really enjoy that. Now, not every project will really give you a very good update series, and some will just kind of disappear. Uh, but it's very interesting to kind of know what's coming, and see pictures of it, and maybe read the rules and be ready and get excited about it. It's a way to really feel involved with the development of a game. Another thing I like is that in many instances, and not all, but many instances, you'll get access to a particular game much earlier than sort of the regular rank and file people. It might come out a month or two in advance, so you can get it, be playing it, sort of experience it, and then other people will eventually get their copies, and you've already been there. And that can be great. You can say, oh, I loved this game, I recommend it to you. Or you can be all ready to teach people about the game. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with that sort of early access information. And when something really does come early, that can be really satisfying, and I quite enjoy that part of the experience. I also really like, and this is just sort of me, but I buy a lot of games, and I enjoy that Kickstarter is kind of a fire and forget platform. So I will purchase this game and then go through the pledge manager, um, and um, and then I might not think about the game for a little while, and eventually I will get a shipping notice, and the shipping notice usually just says, I don't know, Quartermaster Logistics sent you a package, but I have no idea what that package is. And then I can kind of, or maybe I don't even get a shipping notice. Maybe it just shows up on my doorstep. Um, but I get surprises. Okay, it's a surprise I paid for, but it's a surprise I paid for so long ago that I've forgotten about it by the time it arrives, and there's sort of some excitement of discovery of, oh, something's arrived. What could it be? Oh, it's this. I remember being excited about this for such and such reason, and now I can dive in and see how it goes. Um, so those are some things I really enjoy about Kickstarter. Now, there's a couple of things I don't like so much. One of them is I already indicated that you're going to be paying more usually for a game than you would pay if you waited for it. So not you're paying kind of an ultra premium price. Usually, a game might come out on Kickstarter that you paid $70 or $80 for, and then you paid $20 of shipping and waited a year and a half for, and then someone else will get from the regular old store for, I don't know, $45. There's a game out currently that's kind of like this. It's I think just come to some retail shops. It's called, I think, Dead by Daylight, from Level 99. And trying to remember, I think that's one where I paid more than $100 for it. Um, I'm just going to check. I saw it advertised on Miniature Market, and yeah, so it's on Miniature Market for $39.99. This is not the deluxe edition, but it's a copy of the game that I could buy right now and have in my home, in a couple of days. And yet I go to, let's see if I can find it on Kickstarter. Yeah, this is great, great broadcast. I know. So I go to the Kickstarter. So there's no reason not to show this here. So let me show it here. Here's the Kickstarter. And, I go to here. It was a $99 pledge to get the collector's edition, but just the standard edition is $49 plus shipping. Yet, if I went to Miniature Market and bought it there, I could have it for $39.99. They still haven't shipped the game from the Kickstarter. They said October 2022. It's past that timeline. So if I had bought this there, I still would not have received it, and I would have paid more for it. And I really don't like that. I mean, that feels kind of offensive, right? You're taking somebody's money now and then something, giving them their item later and charging them more than had they just hung around and waited until it was available. And that's something that I really don't like about Kickstarter. Another thing is, so, sort of this concept of I will pay you today and I will get it in a year or two and I might pay more. Don't like it. Another thing I don't really like is some Kickstarter updates are just, so I like the updates when they're telling you about it, but some of them are just laden with excuses. I mean, you will hear every excuse for lateness that you could possibly imagine. Now, some of them are real, all right? I mean, things happen, understand. But there's some companies that just all of their updates, everyone is just full of all kinds of excuses as to why it's not going to be here for another 6 months. And it could be, our people quit, or it could be we needed a vacation, or it could be, prices are different. It could be any number of things, but there's definitely some of them. In particular, a company called Gray Fox Games, their Kickstarter updates are just nothing but excuses. I mean, it's just how it is. I've learned to live with it. I like some of their games, but you just have to know that whoever does their Kickstarter updates really is going to lay on with just one after the other. That's just how it's going to be. And it can be really annoying as you're sitting here waiting, 2 or 3 years for something, and then you just sort of open up this next update, and instead of this is what we've done, it's okay, we're almost done with this, but this happened, and this happened, this happened. That's really annoying as a Kickstarter customer. Another thing that I don't enjoy is that you're going to be paying a lot for shipping on these games. Back in the early days of Kickstarter, the shipping was always free. These days, they will charge you a lot for shipping, and I understand shipping prices, etc. But again, that if I were to wait and buy the game from a Miniature Market or a card house or some other store, I'm going to pay nothing for shipping if I order more than $100 worth of stuff, and yet I'm going to be paying $30 for shipping of a product just because I ordered it early. That's not great. Another thing that I don't really like is the concept of Kickstarter exclusives or Kickstarter only. Companies will say, okay, this is the only way to get some feature of the game. And the problem with that is I don't often know if the game's any good. And so I'm going to be needing to make a decision on whether I want, if I want the full game experience. I'm only able to get it if I buy it now. And there's a lot of trash that comes out of Kickstarter, just like any other publishing, right? There's a lot of games that come out that are trash. But a lot of games will come out through this process that haven't been play tested well, haven't been developed properly, aren't really quite finished, are a little half baked. And, you have to make a decision 2 or 3 years in advance if you want to be able to access some function or feature of that game. And that's not really fair to consumers. It'd be great if they could, actually see the game and then get some way to purchase things. And look, I can't run somebody's business, but it's very frustrating as a consumer. Also, Kickstarter paid previews are, well, that's my least favorite type of board game media. Is watching somebody play through a prototype or tell me about some Kickstarter prototype, because often it looks bad, the rules aren't great, it's undeveloped at that point. So anyway, those are some things that I don't really like about Kickstarter, but I still use it, right? I certainly have not stopped. It is a platform for purchasing games. Oh, so everybody's going to pretend that you're backing because you believe in something, but really, you're buying something. It's a product. You're just paying for it long before you'll ever see it. But I've had a lot of good experiences. There have been some Kickstarter games that have just been fantastic. Gloomhaven and Frosthaven are both great games that came through it. Most of the Cool Mini or Not games, like Project Elite and this He-Man one I talked about last week, these are games that came through Kickstarter and were great. Sentinels of the Multiverse, one of my very favorite games of all time, one of my most played games, came through there. It came through that route. And all along, I was able to kind of watch and see as they revealed new stuff and said, "Oh, we're going to make this and we're going to make that." And that's amazing, right? That, as a customer, really puts me in the seat and makes me feel like I'm involved in this game. And that aspect of it is really fascinating. I just wish there were a better way to do it. Now, there are other platforms. There's one called GameFound and there's one called BackerKit, and those are trying to be like Kickstarter, with some success. I don't know that people think BackerKit and think that's where I go to sort of pre-fund a game. They think more this is the Pledge Manager. So Pledge Manager is, of course, after you've paid your money there, this is the tool that the company is going to use to collect your data, usually charge you for it again. And again, that's that whole shipping thing, right? Because I pay for Kickstarter, and then they send me another login and another link in a couple of months that says, "Here, now pay for the shipping," and it kind of feels like I'm paying twice. Also, and this is a I'm sure no one from Kickstarter is watching here, but there's a way on Kickstarter to track what the projects you've backed, right? You can go, you can just see them, but it will tell you there's a way to track whether you've received it or not. But there's not a way to track whether you've gone through the Pledge Manager process. And so sometimes, periodically, especially with someone like me who has so many of these, right? I can go down here and it'll say, got it, not provided. But I wish there were another box that said, Pledge Manager issued. That way I could easily track whether I had gone through this process. I do actually fairly faithfully, fairly regularly go through and tick off the ones that I've received. You'll see, obviously, so for example, I got Legacy of You. In fact, it was supposed to come out in July, and I got it in April. So that's a great thing. I got it long before it was supposed to come. Oh, geez, I overpaid for some things. It's kind of embarrassing when you open up your kimono like this and let everybody see how much money you wasted on junk. But regardless, we all have our own vices. I just wish there were a box to tick where I could say, I've done this Pledge Manager, or I have not. Okay. Well, I'm going to turn this off so that I don't keep showing all the things I bagged, all the useless junk that's headed my way. But Kickstarter is here to stay, right? There's GameFound and BackerKit, which I was suggesting are alternatives, but they don't have the power of Kickstarter. They just don't attract as many people. And most people still don't think of them as initial funding platforms. Now, look, I use them. And they don't even count toward my 924 Kickstarters. Those are extra things. But, there are other ways to do it. Ultimately, though, I do it because I like games. It's my hobby, and I like to be as involved as possible. I like seeing how things are made. I love it when I find a small company, right, that's just making that one game, and then they make it, and it's amazing, and then they make it big, and you kind of feel, all right, I didn't invest in them, but I kind of feel like I was a part of that story, and that's a nice feeling. Ultimately, it's going to be an expensive website to visit. I tell people don't go there; it's a deep dark hole. But it's when used sparingly or in excess, it can be fun. It's not perfect, but it is what it is, and some good games have come from it. Anyway, that's kind of it. Like I said, it was kind of a rambly episode today. I didn't really have an agenda. I just wanted to share some musings about it because I've been thinking about it a lot, obviously. um, but that's it for this week. This episode of Wednesday Whimsy. I'm going to end it here. I thank you for joining me and putting up with my musings. And hopefully I guess we'll see you back again in another week for another episode. I don't know what I'm talking about yet, but I will before then. Anyway, until then, I'm going to wish you safe travels, courage when you need it, and we'll see you hopefully soon on another episode of Wednesday Whimsy. Bye-bye.